Welcome back to this podcast of Quiere.Te. I am your host, Ana. Thank you all so much for being here today. If you're tuning in for the first time, I want to say thank you to you as well. Welcome to this channel. Let's go ahead and get started. So today is Easter Sunday. I hope everybody is having a great time with your loved ones, with your friends, with your family, wherever it is that you are. And so today is, I think today is just a really great day for me to do some reflection. And so for today, I thought I'd share a little bit about my kind of just like my educational journey, my career journey as well. And so I call this episode Getting It Wrong Before Getting It Right. Why? Because I feel like we have to go through a lot of trials. We have to go through some errors before we finally get it right? And so today I will be touching base on kind of like my journey after high school, where life took me, right? And like where I'm at now. Because it definitely was not linear. It wasn't easy. There was times where I just felt very discouraged. I felt very lost as well. And so I thought that I could share that experience with you all. For me, I find it very helpful when other people share their stories as well. I feel like, it's a really good opportunity for me, to take some lessons away from other people's experiences as well. Sometimes I get really great ideas as well. Sometimes it just gives me an opportunity to reflect like on my own life as well and maybe make some changes or some improvements as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So today I have my tea, and I think a lot of you guys will notice that on my logo I do have a little tea. And so I think on another episode I will touch base on what the significance of tea has for me. So I'm a huge tea drinker. I try to drink tea at least like maybe twice a day, definitely at nighttime. I just feel like it just helps me wind down. It kind of helps me just wrap up my day. And really just like drinking tea for me is like a process in itself, and it's very healing. And so, yeah, I'll have it here today. So it'll keep me company as I share a little bit about my story for today. So let's get started. All right. So I graduated from high school. When I was in high school, I remember we had a career day. During that time, I really wasn't too sure about what it is that I wanted to do after high school. I think my main goal was just to graduate from high school. However, when I think I reached about junior year, I think that's when a lot of my friends really started the conversation about colleges and university and where are we going to go after high school, right? Because eventually we're all going to part ways because we're all interested in different careers. We're interested in different universities. And so I said, like, I have to start thinking about that as well, right? And so I will say that a lot of the times, like, college isn't even an option until like your friends really start talking about it. I feel like that was one of my greatest motivators. And I think that's what influenced me to even consider like continuing my education after high school. So I want to give my high school friends a great shout out for that. So in high school, I remember having a career day. And so really career day is about, inviting professionals from different, working in different fields, and having them or giving them the opportunity to talk to high school students about what they do, how they got there, how their journey was. And, with that is like, what are their salaries? What kind of benefits do they get? What do they love most about their jobs? And so I remember talking to, I think they were in forensics, and I think they were in psychology. right? So I remember talking to a specific person, and they were talking about how they were in forensic psychology. And I think as I was listening to this person, like I just started getting a lot of ideas as well. And it just seems so interesting to me, right? The idea of understanding human behavior. Why do people act a certain way? Why do people behave a certain way? And why do people think a certain way as well? And so I wasn't exactly sure if forensics was going to be like my end goal. However, I knew that psychology was just very interesting to me. And so I remember going home and like just doing a lot of research on psychology, and just like the idea really intrigued me a lot, right? Specifically counseling. I think that was the area that I felt like I could pursue maybe eventually one day. And so I would say like in all of my life, I think that was the first time where like, okay, I think I want to do something in psychology, right? I think I want to go into a helping profession. I don't exactly know where, but like I think that's what I want to do. So come senior year, and we're applying for financial aid for FAFSA, we're applying to universities. And so I think I applied to a couple local universities. And so I remember I got into one of them. I got into CSU East Bay in Hayward. I remember when I got all my papers in the mail, and it was time for me to submit my letter of intent, of acceptance, right? I became so nervous and so anxious at the thought of like having to leave right after high school. I think for me, that was just a realization that emotionally and mentally, like I just was not ready, right? So I didn't end up going. Instead, I decided to go to a community college. And so my thoughts were I can go to community college, and then after that, I can go ahead and just transfer to a university, because it just made more sense to me at the moment. And so that's exactly what I ended up doing. I went to a community college. A couple of my friends from high school ended up going as well. So there was a sense of comfort, because there were familiar people there, right? And so I think that made the experience more positive as well. And it was a great experience. I met new people as well. And then I think it really gave me more reassurance that psychology was the major that I wanted to continue pursuing, because I took a few psychology classes at that community college, and really they were great. The instructors were amazing. I felt like I learned a lot, and I wanted to continue learning even more, right? So then from community college, I decided that I wanted to transfer out to a university so that I can complete my last 2 years and finish my bachelor's degree. So I did that. I transferred to a university. And so there, most of my classes were in psychology, right? Because that was my declared major. And again, they were great. The professors were really good. I met some really good group of friends as well, because we all shared the same interests, which was psychology, right? So I remember having really great conversations about what we wanted to do after we graduated from the university. And so, there was a lot of opportunities for like really great projects. I still remember the specific class where we were studying the DSM-5, and we were studying the different diagnoses. And so like every student in the class was assigned a different disorder basically, and depending on the disorder, like we had to kind of act that out too. And so the significance behind that was just to kind of really, create a little bit more empathy, right, towards people who have been diagnosed with mental health disorder as well. And so that was a very interesting project as well. It really helped us to really kind of step out of our comfort zones as well. And so that's how we kind of finalized one of our last projects for that specific psychology class. So yeah, so that was my 2 years at a university, and so I graduated with my BA in psychology, and so yeah, that was that. Um, During that time, I I believe I was working, and so just kind of like taking it back a little bit. My first job after high school, I believe, was at 18 years old. And so my first job was in education. So I had applied, and I'm looking at my notes here too, just so that I don't forget because this was such a long time ago. I was working with a program called Gear Up. And this program was really about, really promoting, like higher education, a lot of college awareness, a college readiness for elementary and for middle school students. So I worked at a K through 8th school. My position there was academic coach. So basically, it was a group of like new high school graduates who were placed in different schools. And then we were there during school hours while the elementary school students were in class. And so our role really was about supporting the teacher, supporting the students' needs, beyond the classroom setting as well. So we were providing a little bit of like some social emotional support as well. Like we would be out there during recess time, during PE time. And so there was really a lot of really good opportunity to engage with the students, to build relationships with them as well. Excuse me. And then, so then we were available to really just support anything that came up in the classroom. I remember during my year there, I enjoyed what I was doing. However, I felt like I wanted to kind of step out of my comfort zone as well. So I remember I would ask some of the female students, and I would ask them like, what are some things that you would like to see here in the school that you don't have it in place right now? And the majority of them said like, we would really like to create a cheerleading squad. And so, when these girls told me that, like they were so excited. They asked me like, do you think that could become a possibility? Like, is this something that you can support us with? And so I remember like I asked my supervisor, and then I think she really encouraged me to really talk to the school staff, the school administrator. And so I pitched this idea because I did cheerleading in high school as well. Not for very long, but I did it. And so I had a little bit of background and some experience. And so, yeah, they said yes. And then so I took it upon myself to kind of start out planning what that cheer squad would look like. And so we recruited a few girls. I remember we got some funding from the school. We went out to get them measured for their cheerleading uniform. They chose out their uniform. We would practice after school, and then we would practice some of the cheers. And then finally they made their grand debut and one of the basketball games. So I remember being there, and these girls were just so like ecstatic at being there in the basketball game and just getting to perform as well. So that was such a great experience. I absolutely loved it. And so so I was there in Gear Up, and then after that they didn't invite me back the next year. I think there was like there was cuts in funding, I want to say. So I think during that time it was like, okay, well, like, am I the only one that's not coming back, right? So I think it does a little bit to your self-esteem and your confidence while not really knowing exactly why you're not being invited back for another year in that position. But just looking back at it now, I'm actually glad that it didn't work out, because I wouldn't have been able to take on a new step in my career or in my life. So after Gear Up, I did a lot of tutoring for after school programs. So there was a specific after school program that really focused a lot on technology, And so I worked at various schools and I really enjoyed that experience. It gave me a really good opportunity to work with students, right? To help them, improve their academic functioning, to help them improve their grades during school hours. And so I really enjoyed that as well. And then I also tutored for a home tutoring agency as well. So basically, they would allow me to create like my own kind of like lesson plans, and then like I could bring my own material depending on what the student was struggling with as well. So for this one, I would go out to the students' homes, I would coordinate with the parents, and then we would set aside a time and a date where I can come into the home and meet with their students, and then just tutor them. So this was a great opportunity. The parents were so nice as well. They were very welcoming. Sometimes they wanted me to stay for dinner or just like give me some food, snacks. So they were all very, very welcoming and very humble as well. So I did that for a few years as well. During this time, my boyfriend at that time, so his dad was working in Pebble Beach. And so I think his dad was like a manager or supervisor for some events. So then I remember him telling me that the AT&T golf tournament was going to happen, and that if I was interested, that I could go in and like submit my interest in wanting to work there, because they wanted like temporary workers. So I did that. And then my position there was a banquet server. So I helped out when the event came around. So that was the golf tournament. And then I also worked for the Concours d'Elegance, which is like the car auctioning. So I did that. I did a few of those events. It was a really cool, interesting experience. I got to see some of the celebrities. I met Jay Leno during that time. I think we even took a picture together. So that was really cool, right? It was nothing but like rich people, right? And so like I remember like they would give us like really good tips as well. But just the job itself, it was a lot of just like labor work, a lot of walking. We were serving, we had to stand around for really long hours as well. And we were working pretty late as well. So I remember like ending the shift maybe like at 10 or 11 o'clock. And then the drive back home was like about an hour. And so I think I was maybe like 18 or 19 at that time. So yeah, that was a really interesting experience as well. So I did that kind of on the side as well. And then I ended up inviting a couple of my friends and my cousin as well. So that was really cool, because then we all got the chance to carpool together, and then we got a chance to work together. So it just made the experience more fun. And yeah, we have some pretty funny stories as well of things that kind of went down during this event. But yeah, I was very thankful that they came along as well, because it just made the experience more enjoyable for sure. So fast forward a little bit. I remember that in one of the local towns from where I live, they were building a new big grocery store. And so kind of like a Foodsco. And so they were needing workers. So one of my friends and I decided to apply, and we got hired. So then we went through the whole training process. And then it was a pretty cool experience as well, because there was a lot of like young workers as well, kind of like our age during that time. So we got to meet new people. Just getting trained with them was just a very fun, positive experience as well. And so, yeah, so I remember like the opening date came. And I remember like it was like havoc. There were so many people, right, coming in, because of course the first day usually they have a lot of good deals, a lot of sales. So I was in the cash register, right? And so I just remember like it was just like nonstop. So many people. I mean, it was the first day. It was just very overwhelming and just very chaotic. And yeah, I was there for, I don't know, I kid you not, I think I was there for 2 days. And then I said, I don't like this. I did not like the experience. Yeah, and this is something that I definitely would not do now, and I don't even know why I did it. I was so young, and I guess I didn't know any better, right? But I just stopped going. Like I never even like notified my supervisor and manager that I was not gonna go back, that I wanted to resign. So I just stopped going. I straight up just stopped going. Like I ghosted the place and I never went back just because I absolutely knew that no, like that just wasn't it for me. I give mad props to people that work in customer service because you have to have so much patience. And yeah, it just wasn't for me. So, but I'm glad that I went through the experience because otherwise I wouldn't have known that that was not going to be for me. But yeah, I tell people this story about how I just never went back, and they're like, "What?" Like they do not believe me, but it's true. I just didn't go back anymore. I just completely ghosted the store. So yeah, so that was my experience there. Okay, so from there, um, I think from there, I ended up getting a phone call from, oh gosh, I don't even remember this person's name, but I ended up getting a phone call from Saudi that worked at a school district. And they asked me if I was interested in helping out like part time to file papers. And I said, yeah, for sure. Like I can go. So I was at a district office supporting like some summer like projects that they had going on. And so like I was there helping out for a few weeks, and then that ended. And then after that, they offered me to come back to be a CELT tester. So it's CELDT, right? So this is the what LPAC is now. So it was the California English Language Development Test for students. And so I was invited to be a tester to administer the testing and in the classes and with the students as well. And so I did that. This was a big project because we really had to get to all the students in this school district, right? So this is like kinder through 8th grade. So there was a bunch of testers, and then we all went out to different school sites, and then we had to like meet with all of the kids. We had to test all of the children, all of the students. So it took a while for us to finish. There I met some really great people. I actually met some people that are still some of my close friends today, and we've been friends for about actually it's funny because we were just together yesterday and we were trying to like remember how long we've been friends for, and I want to say it's been about like 12 or 13 years. But yeah, we all started testing together. They were sub teaching during that time. They're now teachers. So yeah, it was just a really great experience working together. And so, when that ended, it was really sad because we all kind of parted ways. We were still in the same district, but we weren't working like closely together anymore. So it was really sad just kind of finishing that project. And so I thought my time there was over already. I think during this time I was already looking for something else. And then the coordinator that was in charge of the cell testing, she asked me if I was interested in applying for a position that had just opened up for a migrant education program. So I said, yeah, sure, why not? She said, you're bilingual, you're from the community. I think you'd be a great fit for this position. And so I know that I'm coming in there with not a lot of experience, right? Like I'm just getting my feet into a school district. Although I had worked in education before, it was with contracted providers that the district would hire. So yeah, I definitely said yes. And so I think during this time, there was a big transition for this program. So it was a county program, and then this program was going back into was going back to be operated through the school district. So my position there was migrant statistician. So basically what I did is that I helped recruit a lot of the families. I would interview them to see if they were eligible for the program. I would help connect them to resources. I would help them connect them to tutoring. I would help coordinate like parent meetings. It was a lot. It was a lot of different work, but I absolutely loved it. I think working for the migrant education program has been by far one of my best experiences. Everybody that worked for this program just had a lot of heart and a lot of passion. And there's so much work that goes behind the scenes as well, just to make sure that the students and the families' needs are being met as well. So they really had a set vision and goal, and I think everybody was just very aware of it, and they worked very closely together to make sure that mission and that goal was met. So during this time, I was doing a lot of very social work related without the actual title of a social worker. And I was there for 6 years, right? So during this time, because I was already doing a lot of, like I said, social work related work, I said, you know what? I think it's time to go back to school, right? So I think it's time to return to university and complete my master's degree. So I applied to a Master's of Social Work program, and I was accepted. And so I was so nervous because by this time it had been years since I had already finished my bachelor's degree and I was in school. So yeah, there was a lot of nerves. There was a lot of like doubt in me. But I knew that it just felt right at the same time as well, because, I felt like the master's degree was going to help me to just advance in my career. And so I think something that was very eye-opening for me was that when I was working with the migrant education program, a lot of families were coming to me because they had a lot of concerns of their children's like social emotional, their mental health as well. A lot of the times we would talk about basic needs, right, not being met, and how much that impacts a family and a child's life as well, right, when the basic needs are not being met. So I remember like a lot of the families would come to me, they would ask me, right, if I knew of any therapist or counselor. Sometimes they would ask me to see if I can speak to their children and like support them. However, like that was out of my scope of practice. However, because I knew that there was such a big need, I think that was something that really pushed me again to pursue my master's degree, because then I knew that I would be able to provide some of that support, right? Because that's what the social work program really focused on. I always say that I think it was fate that I ended up working for the migrant education program, because otherwise I don't think it would have pushed me or I would have been pushed or encouraged to pursue my master's degree. So I think that was super helpful. I ended up, I started my MSW program, specifically in school social work as well. So I also pursued my PPS credential and my CWA credential, which is child welfare and attendance as well. And so my experience in the MSW program was great. Again, I met some really great people, some friends or some classmates who are now my friends as well. We've maintained a relationship after our master program. I also applied for a grant, and so I received the grant for I think it was about $24,000. So basically it paid for all of my schooling. I didn't have to pay anything out of pocket, maybe except for like just the first 2 semesters, because I applied for the grant after that. But for the rest, it was a 3-year program. So for 2 years, it was all paid for. So Yeah, it was such an exciting time in my life. Pursuing my master's degree was it was a very, how do I say? So like the content and the coursework itself was not difficult. It was more of learning how to balance my work, my schooling, my life, and all the other things that come, right? So I did the 3-year program, which is a part-time program. So this program is designed to allow you to still keep your job, your full-time job, and then attend school in the nighttime. So that's what I was doing. So I was working with migrant ed, 8 to 5, and then I was taking night classes. So my classes would start at like 6 o'clock, and I was there till about 10 p.m. And so that's how it was the first year. And then the second year, we had to do an internship program. So the last 2 years of my grad school program, we had to intern either at a school or any other choice. So for me, it was a mental health clinic. So there, I knew that I had to talk to my employer about this because the expectation was that we were at the internship 2 days out of the week for 8 hours. So it was a 16-hour week. So of course, since I worked 8 to 5, like that, how was I going to make that work, right? So I remember talking to my supervisor at that time in my job, and I said, hey, this is part of the requirement. So like, what can I do? So luckily, like they were very flexible, and they were very understanding during this time. And they said, well, like you can come in earlier. And so I said, gosh, even if I come in earlier, like it's not gonna allow me enough time to get to my class on time, or I still need to cut 2 days out of the week to attend to my internship. And so basically what I ended up doing is that I ended up taking a pay cut because I had no other choice, right? Like there was 16-hour work, the 2 8 hours that I was at my internship, like I couldn't make it up on a weekend or anything. So yeah, I ended up taking a pay cut. That really sucked, right? Because I mean, I needed money, of course, right? For gas, for my books, for other spendings as well. I was driving to the university maybe like 3 times per week, which was about like an hour from where I lived. And so, yeah, but at the same time, like I was glad that the district was even allowing me to do that. I think a lot of other employers would have been like, well, like you're going to be out of your job and you're not going to perform your duties like 2 times out of the week. So, right, like why should we keep you? But yeah, luckily I'm very blessed that I was able to make it work. So yeah, going to internship was a great experience as well. I interned with behavioral health, which was the agency that I was working with before. I did my 2 years there. One of them was through the school systems, and the other one was at a mental health clinic where I was able to get a lot of just clinical experience. Both of my supervisors were amazing, super helpful, super patient, and very understanding as well. And so, yeah, that was my experience there. Come forward. I finished all of that. I finished all of my extra PPSC hours, and I graduated from the university with my MSW, with my PPSC and my CWA. I got my PPS because I knew that I eventually wanted to do social work within the schools, right? So when I graduated, I ended up applying to the county behavioral health, which was the same. It was where I was interning as well. So I got an offer and I accepted the offer. And so I was placed with the education team. So basically I was a clinician that was placed within the school setting. And there I was providing mental health services to students that were experiencing pretty moderate to severe symptoms. And so I was there for 5 years, and it was truly a great experience. I learned a lot. I got more familiar with the DSM-5, We conducted psychosocial assessments, treatment plans. We got the opportunity to write a lot of progress notes, right? Just to monitor progress and just document the interventions that we were providing for the clients as well. There was a lot of opportunity for collaboration with psychiatrists. So it gave me a very good opportunity to learn about the different medications and the side effects as well. But so all of that clinical experience was super helpful. And at the same time, I was learning how to navigate that within the school system as well, right? And a lot of the times within the educational system, particularly some of the teachers, like these services, they're not very well accepted, because a lot of the times they feel like, well, like this is kind of interfering, your service is interfering with my teaching as well, and like you're pulling out the student, so like it doesn't give me enough time to teach, right? So there's a lot of politics as well, and definitely a lot of problems with systems as well. So but yeah, it was such a great learning experience. You learn a lot about the teachers as well, like the way that they think, the way that they operate. And, some teachers were also very thankful for the services that we were providing as well. And they were definitely allies as well. And so I think that's what makes a huge difference in us trying to provide our services as well. So yeah, I met great people. I had the best colleagues there as well. And I'm very thankful for that experience. There, I also got the opportunity to be supervised. My supervisor, which she holds her LCSW, and this is how I was able to accrue my 3,000 clinical hours to pursue my LCSW. So I completed that. I took my law and ethics exam and I passed it the first time, luckily. And so right now I already sent all my paperwork to the BBS, and I finally got approved to take my clinical exam. So I will be taking that exam soon. Right now I'm in the process of studying for that clinical exam. So I'm trying to set some time aside on the weekends to do that. Have I been the best at it? No. I think that I can definitely, really designate some time to study more, right? So I'm working on that because I know it's not an easy exam. So my plan for this week, since I'm on spring break, is to just study a lot, so I can be more prepared. So yeah. Now, where am I at now? So right now there's a big push for school districts to hire school social workers. So school social workers are definitely being hired by a lot more school districts. I think it's a very new position here in the area that I work in, right? They've never had school social workers before, so they're still kind of learning what school social workers can do and cannot do. So I recently applied through a school district to be a school social worker, and I was hired. I was offered a position, and so I am working now with elementary school students. When I was with the county, I was working with high school students, and I thought that, I think high school students is like this is it for me. Like, this is the population that I enjoy working with. I was very against working with elementary school students, but somehow I ended up here. So like, I am excited for this experience. A lot of my fellow school social worker friends say they absolutely love working with elementary school students. I also see it as a great opportunity for prevention. And so I am excited to start working with them as well, just based on the interactions that I've had my first week working at the school. The little ones are so fun as well, and I would say like they're just so much easier to engage than the older students as well. So I am excited to learn more about interventions and just building relationships with the little ones as well. And then also, like, I think right now I'm in the position of really working through establishing better systems for school social workers as well. Because again, like I said, the position is so new that a lot of the administrators are not really knowing exactly what it is that we can offer, what it is that we can provide. So I think there's a lot of room for us to really start, kind of building this program and really building on the role of what school social workers can do as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. If I pass my clinical exam, I have thought about private practice in the future as well, and doing more like remote work from home as well. And just to have more of a better work-life balance. I think I'm at a point in my life where like that's just very important. Spending time with my family, right, with my husband, with my parents, my siblings is just something that I am truly looking for. And so that's very important to me. I think like life just happens so fast. Like the years go by so quick. My parents are getting older as well, so I would like to spend more time with them as well. So, I think now too, working with the school district, one of the things that really kind of pushed me to apply was that we do follow those school breaks as well, like so we get the same breaks as the students do, right? So my spring break is a whole week, like a week and a half long. And then for the first time in years, I will finally get a summer off. Whereas before I was working for 12 months straight, 8 to 5 o'clock. And so that just became kind of tiring, a little bit draining. And so now I'm looking for an opportunity to have those breaks so I can practice some self-care, and so that I can channel some of my energy and other outlets such as this podcast, right? So I think one of the main reasons why I started this podcast is because I have more time now. I have more energy as well. And so, I think in the summer, it's going to be a really good opportunity for me to venture out to and do other things that maybe I have been putting aside because I was just too tired to do. And so I'm very excited about that. So yeah, that's a little bit about my journey as well. I don't know if I left anything out. I think something else that I have done as well that it's very significant, I think that I learned a lot from, is getting the opportunity to supervise an intern from the university that I went to as well. And so that has been a great experience as well. And I look forward to doing it more as well because I learned so much about the students, and then I learned a lot more about myself and like my supervisory style as well. So yeah, I think this year really is about me trying to overcome fears, because really that's how we grow as people, as individuals, right? They say that you should do that thing that makes you feel scared because there's going to be a learning experience at the end of it all, right? And so like I'm really trying to like be more aware and more mindful of those things that scare me. And if that thing scares me, and if it's something that I really want to do, but fear is in the way, then you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. And I feel like that's what's really been, that's what's been allowing me to just be more confident and have more self-esteem as well. And so, yeah, that's part of the journey. Like I said, life is it goes by so fast as well. And I think it's important to not live with any regrets as well. So I encourage you all as well, if there's something that you really want to do, but fear is just kind of getting in the way, just really like reflect on that as well. And try to encourage yourself and motivate yourself and doing that thing that scares you, and just watch what happens on the other side as well. So with that said, I would like to thank you all for listening into this episode. Again, this is a little bit about my pathway, my journey as well. I find so much significance in other people's stories when they share about their trajectory, after they graduated from high school, how they ended up in the career that they chose. Sometimes people change careers too in their 30s or their 40s, even their 50s as well. So I want to say, like, it's not linear, right? It's not linear. Sometimes it's going to get very hard. sometimes it's going to seem very easy or very smooth as well. And so, again, that's part of the journey as well. And so I'm truly thankful for my journey as well. If whatever happened in the past wouldn't have happened, I probably would not have been here right now or been the person that I am today. And so I feel very secure in myself, and I feel very inspired and very hopeful of where life takes me. And so I just hope that it's, that it's where I'm supposed to be at as well. But always really reminding yourself that, to surround yourself with really good, positive people as well along the journey. And that's going to make such a difference. So again, thank you all for listening in. Feel free to comment on different topics that you would like to hear as well. If you'd like to share a little bit about your life journey as well, and where you're at right now, I would love to hear it. And so with that said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.